Woo! Hey, good morning. It's Friday. Oh, I'm so excited. It's Friday, 6:05 a.m. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. We've got so much to get to, so I'm just going to dig right in. The leftists, they're planning an economic blackout today to try to tank the Trump economy. It's not going to work, folks. There's no way. There's not enough leftists to Bud Light any kind of company. They're not going to be, making any kind of purchases today, I guess. Leftists. I think it originated from Al Sharpton. It's kind of tough to see where these protests and like the BLM riots, remember in 2020, it was all coordinated and planned. A lot of these protests where they went into Targets and lit them on fire, right? It's kind of hard to trace back who the original organizer is, okay? Because there's a lot of leftist circles. There's not a lot of leftists. There's a lot of leftist circles, and they're spreading this around that they're going to do this economic blackout today. I think it's hilarious. Maybe they'll actually figure out, oh, wow, I saved some money today, and I've got $20 in my bank account. And man, I realize, if I just don't spend money every single day, then I'm going to have some money in my bank account, and maybe I won't want the government to take it all, right? So maybe now they'll learn the value of the dollar, and then they'll stop stealing our money to pay for their lifestyles. Okay, I doubt it, but it's kind of like, it reminds me of all of the liberal women where they're like doing these like sex protests where they're like not like they like go as far. Like there was a state representative. I want to say she was based out of Michigan. I'd have to look it up. I forget what. But she sterilized herself in protest of Donald Trump. I don't know, and like they're like on a sex protest or whatever, these liberal women. I think it's so funny. Like, yes. Not being sexually promiscuous, not spending money like every single day, and not having money to participate in society, and you having to rely on tax dollars to subsidize your life. It's starting to sound like they're becoming conservative. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but the leftists, taking a day and not spending money, you're starting to sound like a conservative. Okay, if the leftists had any kind of financial management talent or ability, they wouldn't be begging for tax dollars. Okay, if they managed their money correctly, they wouldn't need the tax money. So that's what we're saying. Yes, take a day, don't spend money. That's what conservatives do pretty much every day. Okay, so, but they're doing this economic. It's not going to do anything. Like, come on, there's not enough leftists. Now, I'll tell you what does have a financial impact if conservatives stop spending money. Okay, totally, because we already saw this with the Bud Light situation. Bud Light still hasn't financially recovered from that, where we protested Bud Light with our dollars. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about this woman. I mentioned it a little bit yesterday. She's a congresswoman. She goes on this really unhinged rant about Donald Trump deporting too many illegal immigrants. And if he does that, then there's not going to be enough brown people to pick our crops. Yeah, that's the sentiment coming from the left, that they don't want the deportations because they want to exploit migrant labor or illegal immigrant labor. That's what they want. So very, very racist. It kind of reminds me of, the 1800s when the Democrats forced people into slavery. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is just the same party, and we're just living through this again, right? Where they want to enslave people and force them to work for low wages and force children. Actually, I did this story a few months ago about HelloFresh. They're under investigation. The Illinois Department of Labor and the U.S. Department of Labor are looking into this. HelloFresh, they had some Guatemalan teens working there, so it was child labor, and they're in partnership with Tent. It's called Tent Refugees. It's some sort of nonprofit organization that's dedicated to filling migrants into companies. It's exploiting immigrant labor. That's what this nonprofit does. They find the illegal immigrants and then they put them into positions where they are working for pennies, or they put children in the workplace, which is a violation of child labor laws, right? So, I think it's so interesting that you've got leftists, Democrats still trying to enslave people. So there you have it. And she just goes on this unhinged rant about how if we don't have enough illegal immigrants, who's going to pick our fruit? What? I also want to talk about this. This is interesting. There's a legislative session going on. So the state lawmakers, they're busy crafting bills. We have a over $3 billion budget deficit. You should know that our budget has ballooned by so much since Governor J.B. Pritzker took office. It was like 30 billion, somewhere around there when he took office, and it bounced around there for quite some time. But it's ballooned now to $55.5 billion budget. Okay, that's what we're looking at here in the state of Illinois. It's ridiculous. And while we've got that going on, I think it's like 3.2, I don't know, $billion budget deficit. It's an insane amount of money. We've got state lawmakers, including Republicans. Okay, so I might get in trouble for this one, but I really don't care. You've got Republicans out there asking for, dollars, and it would be great if we could restore our historic sites, keep our parks and recreation going, and our state parks nice. But unfortunately, we live in Illinois, and the Democrats have had control of the dollars, and they've dedicated your money to the illegal immigrants. That's why we have the $3 billion budget deficit. $63 million, I think I pointed this out a couple of weeks ago, of your tax dollars went to just one. Now there's hundreds of these nonprofits, okay? $63 million in just 7 months went to one illegal immigrant nonprofit organization called ICER, the Illinois Coalition for Immigrants, Refugees, Rights, whatever. $500,000 went to the one here locally, Normal, of your tax dollars in just 7 months. It's the Immigration Project, and that's here locally. Okay, so that's why we have a budget deficit. It's because millions and millions and millions of dollars are going to hundreds of these nonprofit organizations dedicated to giving legal advice to illegal immigrants who have legal deportation orders, okay? And they're trying to avoid deportation. And it's just total bogus. But you've got Republicans out there, and I've got this. The Illinois Department of Natural Resources says it's going to take $19 million to restore the deteriorating Lincoln New Salem State Historic Site. Okay, now I've never been here. I've heard about it. I'd love to go sometime. But what's unfortunate here is we can't fix this stuff because we've got a budget deficit, $3 billion. This is kind of like low priority right now, okay? Your historic site, your state's parks, and all of that is kind of low priority, especially when you're facing a $3 billion budget deficit, okay? This is just my opinion. I'm going to get into trouble because this is Republican sponsored. Well, it's bipartisan. So it's Republican Democrats are on this bill of State Senator Steve McClure, who's a Republican from Springfield. Okay. Now he wants to appropriate $5 million. Now this whole bill is kind of interesting because you have IDNR, so the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. They're the ones kind of tasked with contracting out the work to revitalize the Lincoln New Salem State Historic Site. Okay. I think this is in Menard County. So it's downstate. Now, it's interesting because nobody really seems to have the right number for restoring the site. Like, what is the number that it's going to take to restore the site? Because Steve McClure's bill appropriates $5 million to the site in improvements, okay, for site improvements. Now, IDNR says it's going to take way more than that, $19 million. Okay, so his Senate Bill 1417 would set up the New Salem Preservation Commission, is what it's called, to determine the true renovation cost. But they're going to ask for $19 million, but that might not be the true cost. Okay, so that's what bothers me about these types of bills. They appropriate all of this funding, but we don't even really know what it would cost for the renovation. Right now, why would you appropriate any funding until I feel like we're kind of jumping the gun here. Okay, the New Salem Preservation Commission that you're setting up. Okay, whatever, let's set that up and let them determine the true cost of renovation. And then after they figure out what the renovation costs actually are, okay, let's be good stewards of the taxpayer dollar here. Let's just not ask for $19 million. And if it's not $19 million, then we'll just use that every single year for maintenance or whatever. No. We are in a budget deficit. Okay, if you don't have money and if you're in debt, that's not how you approach things. Okay, like your own personal finances. Okay, you wouldn't You wouldn't do this in your own personal finances. So I don't think it's cool that the lawmakers, state lawmakers, think that it's all right to do it, with our money. Okay, so they're just going to take 19 million. They're going to ask for 19 million. They might not need that 19 million. Okay. So here we go. State Senator Steve McClure in a press conference, he says, quote, "We put out a rough estimate in the original bill." Okay, so that's the $5 million that the bill says. It was 1496 is the appropriations bill, the $5 million. ID&R would be much more knowledgeable about the property and what they think things would cost. So if the number's 19 million, that's what we're going to ask for. As far as laying out exactly where the $19 million number comes from, I don't have an answer to that. Okay, so ID&R is saying 19 million, but you threw out this $5 million. Let's actually get to the bottom of where this $19 million comes from. So he says, certainly, quote, "the commission would look into that." So the commission, the New Salem Preservation Commission, would look into that. Our hope, to be honest, would be to get the funding in the budget. So let's say it's 19 million. Once it's in, then we would have the commission every single year maintain the property. So if it's in and if it's too much, we'll just use that money to maintain the property every year. Sure, that would be great if Illinois wasn't in a financial state where we're just in debt. Okay, so that would be fine if we had the 19 million. We don't have it. Okay, so and I know people are going to be like, "Kat, you're so heartless. Don't you care about history? Don't you care about Abe Lincoln?" Of course I care about Abe Lincoln and our history. I love going to museums. It's so much fun. But that's exactly what it is. Fun. Okay, it's fun. In a Wednesday News, and this is another part of this that is interesting. When asked, the president of the New Salem Lincoln League, it's a volunteer group, and I appreciate what they do there. That's awesome. They've got about 8 volunteers that are there on site, and they help the visitors, and they teach children about Abe Lincoln. And this is a really cool site. It's where Abraham Lincoln's first started learning about politics. So her name's Gina Walter, and she was asked about visitorship in this press conference. And, she says, quote, "Visitorship years ago was about $400,000, when the historic site was up and running, and it was the brand, it was the thing, it was the popular thing. And it was like $400,000 or 400,000 people a year would come visit this place." She goes, quote, "I have no idea what it is now." Okay, so we're dedicating 19 million tax dollars to something. And I understand that's a small amount in comparison to a $55 billion budget. But we don't even know if people are actually attending this thing or if people want to attend the site. Okay, has there been community polls that they want the site to be restored? She does say what I'm hearing from people in the community is that they're embarrassed to take the guests or take people to the New Salem site. Okay, now we can't throw $19 million at something if only one person a week goes, to the site, especially when we've got this $3 billion budget deficit, when we're in the hole that much. Okay, this is a want, not a need. Okay, so McClure said that the site might be one of the most important historical sites. I don't know. That's kind of something. You throw that out there. I mean, sure, you can say it's the most important historical site in Illinois, but there's probably other other historical sites the state is funding that are needing similar renovations. Okay, and when you're in a hole, and if you give appropriations to this site, what's going to stop a different legislator creating a commission and trying to appropriate funds to this site who needs similar renovations? It's all Governor J.B. Pritzker's fault. That's why we're where we're at. We haven't maintained, our historical sites because we've been prioritizing our illegal immigrants. Okay, the illegal immigrants. Okay, so and I'm going to take a quick break, but I want to talk about this because this is really interesting. ID&R, I did some research and I looked this up. And from what I can tell, okay, this is just according to the Capital Development Board's database, and this is a place where you go to figure out who is contracted for what. Okay, what contractors are out there. So despite ID&R awarding a Chicago-based construction company called Premier Premier Contractors Incorporated. Okay, I think they're Chicago, but it's Bloomingdale. I think it's like a suburb of Chicago, maybe. But they had nearly $500,000, $447,000 in 2021. They were awarded taxpayer money to replace. I'm not kidding. This is what the contract lays out. It says replace the roof at Lincoln New Salem State Historic Site. But McClure, during this press conference, said that the roof is caving in. Now, that raises all kinds of questions, okay? So just 4 years ago, now I don't know about you, okay? My parents, they got their roof done. I think it was like $20,000 or something like that. You get a new roof, it's supposed to last more than 4 years, okay? Now, McClure, alongside an actor dressed as Abraham Lincoln at this news conference, said, "It is a place in our state that we should be showcasing and our students should be learning from." Quote, "Unfortunately, New Salem is in a state of disrepair. It seems like every few weeks a new roof has caved in, a new structure is in trouble, and this has been unacceptable." Okay, so why the hell is the roof caving in if just 4 years ago we wrote a check to taxpayers for nearly $500,000 to replace the roof at Lincoln New Salem State Historic Site? Now, there's a lot of factors here. Maybe it was just one roof. That's kind of crazy to me. Almost $500,000 for one roof. There's multiple like dwellings on this New Salem site. I've looked at the aerial of it, so I don't know if they just replaced one roof for $500,000. Seems kind of high to me. Like I said, your house, it's about $20,000 to replace a roof. So I just find this really interesting. You know, you've got the roof replacement in 2021. And now you want $5 million appropriated to this historic site. And it begs the question. I mean, maybe the roof was done shoddily. And if that's the case, and if the roof is caving in after only 4 years, if that's the case, then we need to reevaluate who we award contracts to, okay? As a state, you know, IDNR awarding this construction company is going to replace the roof 2021, and 4 years later, it's just going to cave in? Like, so... I don't know. I found this and I was like, man, this is just so interesting that Republicans do this kind of stuff when it comes to budget talks. And I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if Premier Constructors, it's kind of hard to figure out if Premier Contractors, the Chicago-based company who's awarded this contract, if they're union. Republicans get union dollars as well. Okay. McClure's top donors are the Chicagoland Operators Joint Labor Management PAC. Okay. That's his top donor. And that's according to the Reform for Illinois database. So, you know, just kind of, they expect you not to look into this kind of stuff. And that's what bothers me about Republicans and Democrats. It just goes to show you here in the state of Illinois, it really doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, they're going to try to spend your money every which way, and you need to see the waste and the priorities here of your lawmakers when it comes to spending your money. All right, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the News and Talk, Bloomington Normal. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. When we come back, I do want to get to Pramila Jayapala. I don't know. She's a congresswoman. And she's saying that illegal immigrants, if we deport them all, then we aren't going to have people to pick our fruit, which is extremely racist. I talked about this a little bit, but I didn't get to play this clip, and I really wanted to because I think it's hilarious that Democrats back in the 1800s did this, and they're still doing it. Okay, so we're going to play this clip here. Actually, I'll just play that. I'm going to play that here in just a little bit, but I also do want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, a lot of people are confused by this and what's going on. It is a little confusing because they put out these binders, and what's so hard to understand about this is, like, wait a second, the binders don't have any names or anything like that in them, and that's what we want. We want the juicy stuff. So apparently Pam Bondi, she got some stuff about the Jeffrey Epstein case, but we didn't get the juicy stuff. A lot of it's heavily redacted, and it's been exposed that the FBI is concealing and she asked for all of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Okay, they gave her some, but they're withholding some secret files. Okay, so let me pull up. DC Drano is the one who has a binder. There's multiple binders. DC Drano is a conservative influencer. Okay, so here's what he says. Quote, today, I met with President Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Pam Bondi, and the FBI Director Kash Patel in the Oval. They handed me a binder copy of the Epstein files. Most transparent administration in American history. The best part that this is just the start. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed that there are 1,000 more Epstein file documents being secretly held by the SDNY. Okay, and they will be delivered to the DOJ in DC by February 28th. So that's today. People will be going to jail for what they've done. Okay, so this is interesting because the SDNY, I think that they've duped both Pam Bondi and Kash Patel when it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein files. They said, oh yeah, here's some Epstein files. And then it turns out that there's a bunch of secret files that we haven't, that we didn't get, that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel didn't get to give to independent journalists. And that's disappointing because you open up the binders and there's nothing really there. It's a lot of redactions and things like that. So Pam Bondi, she's trying to get really the bureaucrat, the SDNY. So that stands for, hold on, it's a faction, or it's a part within. So it's the Southern District of New York. Okay, so this is a federal court, and the U.S. Attorney's office operates within that jurisdiction. Okay, so the Attorney General should be getting all of this, okay, all of the information about Jeffrey Epstein, but they are withholding the information, the Southern District of New York, okay, this court, or this these investigators who investigated Jeffrey Epstein, and they're withholding secret information, or they're keeping information secret. So we should be getting more today. I don't know. It was really disappointing. You got all the binders and then like nothing. There's like absolutely nothing there. So go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. We'll be right back. What's new, Kat? Whoa. So you've probably been seeing this online. It's been circulating, the binders, okay, the Jeffrey Epstein binders. President Donald Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi, they were committed to releasing these Epstein files. Okay, so the FBI was told to deliver the findings and the files to Bondi, the Jeffrey Epstein files. Okay, to Pam Bondi, the FBI was told to do this. They did. About 200 pages. Those are the binders that you're seeing. Independent journalists are kind of combing through. A lot of redactions, not a lot of juicy stuff in these binders. Okay, so it's a whole lot of nothing. Bondi has smelled a rat now. Okay, so she's like, okay, something's off. There should definitely be some sort of smoking gun. There should be flight logs. There should be phone numbers. There should be names. That's what we want, or the Jeffrey Epstein files. And I want the names of the people who were on the island and Jeffrey Epstein had contact with. Okay. So Bondi promised to release the documents, and she prepared a binder of them. Okay. Then last night, a whistleblower contacted Bondi and revealed that the SDNY, so this is the Southern District of New York, was hiding potential thousands upon thousands of Jeffrey Epstein files. Okay. So this is wild in that they defied Bondi's order. Okay. The SDNY and the FBI, they're all defying Bondi's order to give them all to her. She wanted the Jeffrey Epstein files. President Donald Trump and Pam Bondi are committed to releasing those files for you and I to look at and for names to be dropped. Okay. So we're talking records, we're talking evidence, we're talking the names, the flight logs. Okay. The swamp creatures at the SDNY and at the FBI have deceived Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and you. Okay, they said that they gave all the files over. They were like, yeah, these are all the files. It's 200 pages, that's it. And they're all pretty much heavily redacted. And they're lying to your face. Okay, the binder being boring should outrage you. Okay, this is so outrageous, and they're lying to you about these files, and they're withholding thousands upon thousands of files. The binder is powerful because it's tangible evidence, it's physical evidence of this disgusting stunt that the SDNY tried to pull here, where they are defying Pam Bondi's order. Why in the world? So this is tangible evidence that they have files. Okay, they're just not giving you everything, the juicy stuff, the names, and that's the update there. So I think that they're supposed to be getting more. February 28th today. We'll have to see. I'd love to see some names. People need to go to jail. People need to go to jail. And I just don't understand why you're trying to protect pedophiles and sex offenders, SDNY, okay, or SDNY. All right, let's get to this story. Extremely racist, woke liberals. There's nothing more racist than liberals trying to fight for this no human being is illegal thing. And as I said, it's biblical, okay? Illegal immigration, not a thing in the Bible. A very, very common theme in the Bible. And they'll try to say, oh, you're a terrible Christian because you don't want these people here. No. Abraham, and you can go back to Genesis, but there's multiple examples of this throughout the Bible where you are good. You are supposed to be good to the person whose land you are occupying. So if you were a foreigner on foreign land, there was a big fight. He wanted to bury his wife Sarah on this foreign land, and he like shoved money down this king's throat, and the king was like, well, we don't want to take your money. You just stay here. And he goes, no, I am on your land. I want to bury my wife here. You are taking my money. Okay. And vice versa. You're supposed to be very kind to foreigners as well. And we are. That's what people won't tell you about America, is that we are so kind to our immigrants. No other country in the world has all of these different avenues for you to obtain something like a temporary legal status, like a work visa or student visa. Nowhere else in the world do you get to do that kind of stuff. Actually, look at Brittany Griner. Okay, she had like a little bit of dope. She was in Russia, and they imprisoned her and held her hostage, and we had to trade a Russian arms dealer for her to get her back. Okay, so you can't do things in other countries that are against their laws. You can't break other countries' laws. Otherwise, you're going to be held hostage. Okay, so here in America, we wouldn't do that kind of stuff if you are here legally. Okay, say like on a work visa or something, and you have like a little bit of dope, you won't be held hostage, and we won't hold you hostage in this country. Okay, because that's not how America operates. Because we're good. It's based off the Judeo-Christian value. Biblically, Foreigners were good to the kings whose lands they were on, okay, and the kings were good to the foreigners who were on their lands. Okay, that's just how it has always been, and it's a common theme in the Bible. It's very much like if somebody comes into your house, you're going to host them. You're going to pour a pot of coffee. You're going to grab a couple of scones, and you're going to be nice to the person who's in your home. Okay. Now, if somebody comes into your home and then starts taking a baseball bat to your TV, okay, you're probably not going to be very nice to them. You're probably going to want to kick them out. Okay. There's no, like, that's what I just don't understand, how, they have taken this this moral superiority. The left has made themselves into this moral superior, and that they are on the moral superior side here. And that's just astonishing, especially considering you've got this Congresswoman saying this. Take a listen. Here we go.
We can't let them continue their lies and their distractions. We can't let them deport the millions of families across this country that keeps our economy going every day. We can't let them scapegoat and criminalize immigrants who contribute, who are our neighbors, our friends, our churchgoers, our community around us that we deeply love. Immigrants are us. Immigrants are us, and we all deserve respect and dignity. If you look at the food that's on your table, think about who picked it. If you look at your homes, think about who built them. If you look at your vulnerable elders and your kids, think about who's taking care of them.
Oh boy. So this is Pramila Jayapal. She's a congresswoman. She's warning Americans, hey, if we deport criminal aliens, which I think it's so funny that they interchange the wording here, immigrant, illegal immigrant. We're talking about illegal immigrants and deporting illegal immigrants. We're not talking about immigrants who are here legally on a work visa and who are picking fruit. Okay. So, but she says here that they're not going to be able to pick our crops anymore. This is so racist. Like, is anybody else seeing this? Okay, the Democrats back then in the 1800s, they did the same thing, exploited people for their labor because of a different skin color. Okay, now I'm not saying all illegal immigrants are of a different skin color. A lot of them are white. Venezuelans, you can't really even tell unless they have like a foreign language or something like that, or an accent. You can't really tell who's an illegal immigrant or not, which is just so ridiculous that they're saying, oh, we're deporting people, or Donald Trump is deporting people who have a different skin tone. That's ridiculous. No, they have a detailed report on this person. Hey, they skipped their court date. They're here in this country illegally. That it warrants a deportation order. They also committed crimes while here in the country illegally. We know that they're at Rikers Island. We're going to go into Rikers Island and we're going to deport them. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here, folks. We're not talking about, a guy here on a work visa. We're not deporting him because he's brown. Okay, so yeah, this is so ridiculous that you've got liberals talking about wanting them to stay because of the picking the crops. They're here illegally. They need to be deported. And I don't care how much you want to exploit them for their slave labor. Okay, Democrats, you're not doing that again. We did it in the 1800s. Republicans fought you there. We'll fight you again. Okay, so another, solution to this would probably be the fired federal employees that are crying because Elon Musk canned them. Why don't they go pick the crops? Okay, like they can. They're looking for a job, right? And I just don't believe the notion that Americans don't want to do these types of jobs. I just don't buy that. Okay, I don't buy that America is that awful where we want to exploit the labor of individuals because they are here illegally. I don't know. I don't buy into that. I think that plenty of Americans would like to pick crops. Plenty of Americans would like to buy home or build homes. So I think that the left thinks they're too good for this kind of work, and they don't want to get their hands dirty, much like the 1800s. The Southern Democrats didn't want to get their hands dirty, and then they had the black slaves do the work for them. Okay, so it's a deranged lie to claim that America is going to have rotting fruit, like a rotting fruit epidemic on trees. Okay, whatever, if we don't exploit and import labor through these nonprofit organizations. By the way, that's how they do it. These nonprofit organizations, they find them, they ship them here, and then they put them into companies that will hire them, even though they have an illegal status, which is against federal law. And then they'll exploit their labor because they're here illegally. And they'll say, hey, we won't deport you, but we're going to pay you like 5 cents an hour. Okay. Something crazy like that. So additionally, it's actually a representation of them. Okay. As they undermine their humanity by correlating them with crops. Okay. So the Democrats, they are showing us who they are. They believe that these illegal immigrants are no good, and they are only good for their ability to pick our crops. Okay, so that's what the left is doing here. And the leftists keep fighting to keep these slave-like wages for these illegal immigrants. And they've been doing this for a long time, and nobody has said anything. And I'll say it. I don't care. I think that it's astonishing that you've got people here taking this is the moral superior side here. And this is not a new argument. This is Jerry Nadler. I want to play this here for you. He talked about this a while ago. So this is not just this one congresswoman who believes that illegal immigrants, all they're good for is for their cheap labor. Take a listen to this. Here we go.
And we need immigrants in this country. Forget the fact that the farm that our vegetables would rot in the ground if they weren't being picked by many immigrants, many illegal immigrants. The fact is that the birth rate in this country is way below replacement level, which means our population is going to start shrinking. And the ratio of people on Social Security and Medicare is going to increase relative to the number of people supporting them.
Okay, so that's Jerry Nadler. So this is not a new argument. He's been out there saying this. Many Democrats say this. Now, Scott Jennings, he was out on CNN and he just is spitting the facts about hiring illegal aliens. These companies shouldn't be doing it. Okay, that's the bottom line. Take a listen to this clip. Here we go.
If you are trying to actively hire illegal immigrants, if you think that's best, if you are trying to game the system, if you are trying to help someone break U.S. federal immigration law, I think if we're going to have a true crackdown on illegal immigration in this country, it has to involve everybody who's participating in it. And I think you've raised a good point with this topic. And so employers and anyone else who's part of this pipeline, I think they ought to be put on notice. And you got to play by the rule. Everybody has to play by the rule.
I don't want to hear that they're doing work that no one else will do. Talk to guys in the building trades, plumbers, contractors,
picking strawberries.
These building trades guys are being hurt.
I can't
by
wait.
Labor that shouldn't be here.
I can't wait until American women can't get blueberries for their smoothies. I cannot wait until there is a full crackdown on all small businesses, as if that's going to be the solution to the immigration problem. It is just going to put immigration-related issues further into the darker corners. We're not going to see them. It's just going to become even harder to solve the problem. It doesn't make sense to punish individuals and people when there is a broken system.
I mean, look, I think if you came here illegally and you did it, you broke the law. You have to understand it's a new day in America. And number two, I still think the case for total economic collapse, if we have some deportation, is totally overstated. I mean, it's obvious the priority is violent criminals and the second priority is people with existing deportation orders. I think that's the vast majority of what's going to go on, for the next couple of years. And I don't think that's going to have any impact on the economy at all.
But I wonder about just acknowledging the role of undocumented people in the economy. I mean, I think that's the part that's not happening. I mean, earlier today, Stephen Miller was on with Jake.
Okay, so you really can't make this nonsense up. The left, they're going to argue in favor of exploitation of illegal immigrants and using them as slave labor, essentially, and for cheap labor. And the fact that that's the best they can do is a total representation of them and everything that they represent. And it just goes to show you the Democrat Party has not changed much since the 1800s. All right, I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities at 92.9. I don't know how I can better explain this. It is racist. I mean, it's racist in a sense, or it's how do I put this? It's discriminatory against people who are from other countries. Okay, so you're discriminating against somebody when you put them into a position of lower wages. So say you're a company and you hire illegal immigrants, okay? You are discriminating against that person in that you're not willing to pay them the full price of what it is for their labor that you would for an American, okay? And because this individual is illegal and comes from a country that is not America, you're willing to exploit his labor. And that is wrong. That's discriminatory. And in fact, it's slavery. Okay. So the fact that the left is fighting for that and fighting for that practice to continue shows you who they really are. Okay. And they aren't much different from what they used to be in the 1800s. Okay. The Democrats, they are still for exploiting labor of people who are different than them. Okay. Or people who are, and they'll try to, suggest that this is compassion. No, actually, it is the most uncompassionate thing you can do, allowing these illegal immigrants to be shipped here through nonprofit organizations. Okay. I met somebody from Romania years ago, and he discussed with me how he managed to get here. He got on a couple of flights. There was a nonprofit organization that worked with the church, and the church got him the van. Once he got over the border, he had to pay a human trafficker $3,000 a head. Okay, so he had $9,000. Most Americans don't have $9,000, by the way, just sitting in their bank. Most people are paycheck to paycheck here in America. So this whole idea of coming here for economic prosperity, which is insane. $9,000 goes a long way in a country like Romania, by the way. So this individual comes here, $9,000, pays $3,000 a head. His little baby, his wife, and himself. Okay, so $9,000 he pays to the human trafficker, drug cartel looking guy where he had a big gun. Okay, this is literally what he told me. Okay, so he paid him. He got close to the border. Okay, they had to walk over like rivers and brush and everything like that to get into the country. He got him close to the border, the cartel member. Okay, we're just going to call him a cartel member. He trafficked them close to the border. They hopped the border. And then a nonprofit organization working with the church got him a van. He drove the van up to Illinois, and then he's begging on the street corner because he spent all of his money getting to America. Okay. The reason why he wanted to come to America, because he was a mechanic and he was getting paid like $300 a month. And he heard that, you get way more than that here in this country as a mechanic. So he came here for economic prosperity. Being a mechanic, that is a skill. There are work visas, H-1Bs. They are totally perverted, and I think we need to reevaluate that system. But you could easily get an H-1B if you want to be an Uber driver, a mechanic, whatever. H-1Bs were designed originally for surgeons, top-tier individuals who we didn't have here in America, and we'd pull from other countries and bring them here on an H-1B so that way they could do work here in the United States. He could have easily filed for a work visa. Don't know why he didn't. Okay. I have no idea why he wouldn't go through the proper channels. Probably because these nonprofit organizations that, shipped him, I think it was to Spain, then they shipped him to Mexico on a flight. And they got him to Mexico into the cartel members' hands. Okay, this is wrong. Like, do you see why that's so wrong? He's got a little baby, and then you throw him into the hands of a human smuggler. Okay, and I mean, you're just begging for these people to live a life in fear and possibly die. Okay, we're talking about him being trafficked over the border by a human smuggler who had a huge gun and multiple tattoos, is how he described it. And that kind of mentality is what leftists want. They want that for illegal immigrants. They want them to go through multiple flights to get to Mexico, then to get into a human smuggler's hands, then to go over the border, and then to get this crappy van from this church that is associated with this nonprofit that got them there on the flight. And that's what the left wants. Why? Because guess what? Tax dollars go into these nonprofits. They funnel all of the money off of these nonprofits, and they pay themselves with it. Okay, so they'll do it at the expense. They'll, makeshift a way for some of these illegal immigrants to get here. But at the end of the day, what this is really about is them siphoning off the tax dollars here that we're funneling into these nonprofits to do this. And they're siphoning off some of that money to their friends. Okay. And they're paying themselves with it. Okay. That's what we're talking about here. And that is totally, it's state sanctioned. It's legal human trafficking. Okay, they've figured out a way to legally traffic human beings, and that's disgusting. And Donald Trump isn't for it. No, we're going to deport them. They're going to go back home, and they're going to live their lives as their little as a mechanic with their $9,000 savings that they should have never spent in the first place. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the News and Talk Bloomington Normal. Yes, today is the day, I guess, that liberals are going to be doing this thing where they protest the economy by not spending anything today. So this is interesting because like several weeks ago, liberals were demanding that illegal immigrants stay home and prove to the United States that the United States can't function without them. However, not a single person noticed, not a single immigrant probably stopped participating in the American economy. Illegal immigrant stopped participating in the American economy. Nobody noticed. And the leftists, they got back on TikTok and they started crying. They're saying, hey, everybody, we're calling on the masses to not spend money on February 28th today in hopes of creating an economic blackout. So I want to share this with you. This is a TikTok of a leftist explaining the economic blackout day. So I'll get to that here in just a minute, but I got to take another quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. It's illegal to hire an illegal immigrant. Yes. Yeah. And it's illegal because the exploitation that can take place is just so ripe. Okay. If somebody is here illegally, you could deport them. You could call ICE on them at any time. And you're holding that over their head as an employer. Okay. Whether directly or indirectly, they know that they're here illegally. They know that you gave them a job. They know that you know that they're illegal, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make you happy so that way they can have money and they don't have to panhandle on the side of the road. Okay. So that's illegal because it's ripe for slavery. Okay, that's why it's illegal in this country to hire illegal immigrants. Okay, because inevitably, either directly or indirectly, you're going to have business owners who hire illegal immigrants holding this over their head. Okay, so it's just ripe for slavery, and we can't have that in the United States. Okay, we fought an entire war to end this, this civil war, okay, to end that kind of behavior. So that's why it's illegal, right? Because it's morality. That's where all of our laws come from. It's morality. It's moral to not enslave people, right? I think we can all agree there. And what the left is doing, they're trying to advocate for that type of behavior to continue. They want that type of behavior where a business owner hires somebody who's in this country illegally and exploits their labor and pays them cheaply, very cheap, and exploits their labor because they're here illegally and they're breaking laws. Okay, so the left wants that to continue, and the fact that that's like they think that that's a moral superior, like gives them moral superiority over you, who believe that no, you don't hire illegal immigrants. If you're here illegally, you got to go back home. Okay. And that's the best thing. I asked the Romanian immigrant I met a few years ago, I said, would you do it all over again? He told me no. He said, no, I wouldn't do this because I gave up my entire life savings. And that's what's so interesting. They'll print pamphlets, okay, the nonprofit organizations, and they'll get the Romanians, they'll get the Venezuelans, they'll get them to believe that America is this amazing place. But everybody's living on plastic, okay, here in America. It's not the economic prosperity. Like, it's a great country, okay, because you have freedom of speech, you have the ability, okay, and whereas in other countries you don't have that ability to make something of yourself. You have the opportunity, but it's tough, and they're not told that, okay? They're not told that it's illegal to be in this country if you don't go through the proper channels. They're not told that, hey, you can't come here and just cross the border and then you're fine. They're not told that, a lot of business owners won't hire you because you're an illegal immigrant. And really, it's just, they're sold a lie. They print the pamphlets, they give them the pamphlets to them, and they say, come to America, where you have all the opportunity in the world. But they don't tell them that, hey, if you come to America and you don't go through the proper channels, a work visa, student visa, green card, whatever the case may be, asylum, if you don't go through those proper channels, a legal port of entry, if you go through an illegal port of entry, you won't have any of that because you're considered a criminal. Okay. And in this country, criminals don't have a ton of rights. They lose a lot of those rights. I think felons don't even get the opportunity to, or don't even have the right to bear arms. Okay. So that's what we're talking about here this morning. I do want to get to this TikToker, this economic blackout thing that they're doing. I think it's hilarious because finally the left is like becoming kind of conservative. They're realizing, oh, our dollar has value. Okay, if the dollar has value, then stop taking it. Okay, stop taking it via the taxation. Maybe now they'll finally learn that the dollar has value and they'll start saving their money, and they won't need my money to continue their lifestyle. Okay. I find this so hilarious. Leftist liberals, they're doing this economic blackout thing, and it's kind of interesting because conservatives, I mean, I don't know about you, ladies and gents, but I don't like buy things every single day. I go to the grocery store maybe like once a week. I, might get some gas a couple of times throughout the week. I don't know. Like, it's just kind of interesting that the liberals are kind of becoming conservative. Their protests are kind of shooting themselves in the foot. They're going to realize, once they save up this money, if they don't go and they spend money today, they're going to be like, my bank account, I saved some money today. My money is there, and I don't really want anybody to take that because it was kind of tough for me to not spend that money, and I don't want anybody to take that. So maybe they're going to finally learn the value of the dollar, and they're going to stop taxing us, the people who work hard, save our money, so that way they can go and like live their lives. Maybe they will stop relying on their tax money that they get from the government and living off of the government, and they're going to start living off of themselves. That's the whole like point of saving money. Like one day, okay, you're not going to cause economic half of the country not spending money, even if half of the country, which isn't going to happen. There's not that many leftists, especially not that many leftists who are going to participate in this stupid thing. It's not going to have that much of an effect. I'm going to be honest with you. Even if half of the country did this, I don't think for one day it's not going to have that much of an effect. I don't think. This is just so interesting that you've got leftists. There was a state representative. She sterilized herself in protest of Donald Trump getting elected. Now you have leftists protesting and doing what conservatives want them to do, which is just save your money, understand the value of the dollar, and stop taking my money. Okay. Once you understand the value of the dollar, you're not going to want taxation and overtaxation, and you're sacrificing and saving your money. And you're working hard for that money. You don't want the government to come in and take it. So maybe now they're going to learn the value of the dollar, and they're going to stop taking our money via taxation to go live on it. So yes, we want you to have your own money. Yes, we want you to save your money because that means you're being an individual and you're taking accountability over your own life. So yeah, what bravery, not spending money for one day. Most people do that. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I would imagine most people don't spend money every single day. I gotta take a quick break, but we're gonna play this TikToker. She's a leftist TikToker. She's calling on the masses to not spend money today. This is not going to be anything today. I just don't think that there's there's not a ton of leftists out there. Number two, even if all of the leftists participated in this thing, it's one day. It's not really going to matter. And they're trying to tank Trump's economy in protest, which is just ridiculous. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. They'll spend money tomorrow. Yeah. Yes. But I mean, yes, we want you to not spend money. Okay. That's the whole point of conservatism, is that you don't spend money like a crazy lunatic. And maybe if you stop spending money for a quick second, you'd realize the value of the dollar and the power of the dollar, and you wouldn't be so quick to take money from other people. Okay, that's why I'm totally against, not all taxation. I think that we have to pay taxes. Okay, I'm not totally against taxation. But what we're doing here in the state of Illinois as far as taxation, that's ridiculous. And once you understand the value of the dollar, you become a conservative. Okay, so hopefully through this, if they participate in this economic blackout and they don't spend money today, they start to realize, hey, wow, I've got a little bit more money this week. Maybe if I just started saving my money, I wouldn't need the government to step in and fund my life and subsidize my life. Okay, so maybe they'd wind up conservative if they participate in this. So according to Axios, the economic protest comes as many everyday Americans struggle to keep up with the current financial landscape, characterized by high housing costs, surging egg prices, and stubborn inflation. We're going to get to the egg prices. That's definitely Joe Biden's fault. It increased 65% under his administration. Okay. And it's increased slightly under the Trump administration. Like I said, he's only been there for a couple of years, by the way, or a couple of months, by the way. So it's definitely not Donald Trump's fault, the egg prices. Okay. Especially when you look at the numbers, it was 65% increase under the Biden administration. Okay. So because cost of eggs, let's look this up. Cost of eggs in, let's say, 2017, when Donald Trump, his first year in office, they were $1.47. Holy crap. Okay, now let's look at a cost of eggs in 2022. $4, $4 a dozen by the end of the year. Okay, so $1 to $4. That's insane. Okay, so definitely Joe Biden's fault. They were $1 under President Donald Trump, and then they launched, and they were $4 under President Joe Biden. Now let's look at egg prices 2024. Okay. Okay, so they raised. Okay, the average cost of eggs in January 2025 was $8.95. Average cost of a dozen eggs in 2025 is $6.98. So it's going up by a couple of dollars in 2025. But listen, folks, this is because of the bird flu and the government regulations and the killing of the chickens. Okay, and this kind of all started under the Barack Obama administration. We're going to talk about this because the New York governor is blaming Donald Trump for New York City's egg prices skyrocketing. She forgets who she should actually blame, which is the Barack Obama and Joe Biden and herself, because they are closing live poultry markets after the bird flu was detected. And even markets that didn't test positive for bird flu, they had them shut down all of their inventory and shut down for 5 days and clean. Okay, this is government regulation. The government regulation is what leads to the increased cost. It all began, so 65%. So in 2025, it's increased from like $4.95 to like average of $6. Okay, $6 for a dozen of eggs, $6.68. Okay, so that's only a couple of dollars. Under the Biden administration, it went from $1 to $4. So that's an increase of $3. Okay, so we're only looking at an increase of $2 from 2024 to 2025. But really what's going on here is right before Donald Trump got into office, there was all these government regulations for people, for for these markets, these bird markets, chicken markets, to shut down even if they didn't test positive for the bird flu. That was an Biden administration policy, and it was a Kathy Hochul policy. Okay, they ordered healthy farms to shut down and clean for 5 days. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. And food prices, same thing. There's regulation when it comes to or regulation and incentives for the food industry, for these food manufacturers. They were incentivized to use very dangerous chemicals to create seed oils and to create fake meat. Okay, that was an incentive. Like, if you'd get more tax credits if you created fake meat at your food plant. Okay, that's what they would reward you for that, and it's a very dangerous process to create fake meat and seed oils and things that don't use meat products. Okay, and that's why a lot of these places blew up and why food prices have skyrocketed. Welcome to the Red Kingdom. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. It's Friday. We are going to be talking about egg prices because Kathy Hochul, she's blaming Donald Trump again for the egg prices, and she manages to forget who to actually blame for that. Her, Biden, and Obama, because Biden and Obama, they did this. They do this thing where they shut down healthy farms, chicken farms, and they told them to shut down for like 5 days, specifically in New York, if they didn't test positive for the bird flu, to clean. Okay, now there's all kinds of government regulations that had led to the egg prices skyrocketing under the Biden administration. Now they keep increasing because it's the effect of closing those chicken farms. Okay, so Donald Trump, it hasn't even increased nearly what it did under the Biden administration. I think the egg prices increased 65% under the Biden administration, and it's nowhere near that under the Trump administration. So we're going to get to that, but first I want to play this clip. This is the Leftists. They're calling for an economic blackout today, and like I said, I don't think it's really going to do much today. Yeah. Some leftists are going to stay home, but leftists, they traditionally have a spending problem. This is why they keep wanting government money to subsidize their lifestyles, because they don't know how to save money, because they're not fiscally conservative, and they just don't understand the value of the dollar, which is why they're so quick to steal your money via tax dollars. So take a listen to this woman. Here we go.
In case you haven't heard, this coming Friday is a total economic blackout. The idea here is that we, as normal people, we do have power, and the power is through our dollars. So you spend $0 on Friday, February 28th. You don't go grocery shopping. You don't get gas. You don't buy anything on Amazon. You don't go to fast food. You don't go to Starbucks. You literally spend $0 this coming Friday for a full 24 hours. Again, this is Friday, February 28th. There's going to be more of these, but this is the first major one. So I hope you'll be willing to participate, because we do have power. The power is through our wallets.
Oh, wow. Such bravery. Such bravery. The true power of the dollar does not send a message to the business. This will do nothing. While it is true that the power of the dollar does send a message to the business. We saw this with Bud Light. Okay, when conservatives boycotted Bud Light, that sends a very powerful message. They still haven't financially recovered. But this is going to do nothing because nobody really cares. Okay, they tried to do this several weeks ago, actually, the left, with illegal immigrants. They called on illegal immigrants to stay home and prove to the United States that the United States can't function without the illegal immigrants. Okay, but of course, not a single person noticed. The illegal immigrants didn't do that. Because they don't care. They're here illegally. The reason why they're here illegally is because they didn't want to go through a legal port of entry, because most likely they couldn't pass the background checks needed to enter the country through a legal port of entry. So they went through an illegal port of entry. Okay. So now the left is calling on the masses, not just illegal immigrants, to spend money or to not spend any money today, February 28th, in hopes of creating an economic blackout. And yes, your dollar does have power, and maybe they'll wind up being conservatives or this. So you're going to see like, oh, wow, I have a little bit extra money this week. Why is that? Oh, because I saved money on this day and I didn't go out and spend it like a crazy lunatic. Maybe I don't need the tax money to subsidize my life. Maybe if I just don't spend money, I wouldn't need the tax dollars to continue my crazy to fund my Funyuns and Oreos. Okay, so that I think it's interesting. We see this also with the left, where they did this other crazy protest, like called on women to sterilize themselves, called on women to not have sex after President Donald Trump was elected. And it's like, yeah, conservatives are for you saving money and not spending money one day. And conservatives are also for you not being sexually promiscuous. Wow. It's almost like there's a shift going on, a cultural shift. So yeah, Axios, they say the economic protest comes at a time when many Americans struggle to keep up in the current financial landscape characterized by high housing costs, surging egg prices, and stubborn inflation. The amount of people that are going to participate in this thing, it is just statistically insignificant, likely. And sure, whatever, you scream all you want. I promise you, it's not going to. Even if half of the country did this for one day, I don't think it's really going to be that big of a deal. It's one day, okay? It's not going to cause an economic blackout. February 28th, economic blackout is an initiative by, quote, the People's Union USA. They described themselves as a grassroots movement dedicated to economic resistance, government accountability, and corporate reform. Okay, so the economic blackout calls on consumers to avoid all unnecessary purchases, either in person or online, from midnight Thursday through midnight Friday. The whole reason for the protest doesn't make a whole lot of sense, okay? They are a, quote, grassroots movement dedicated to economic resistance, government accountability, and corporate reform. Then why are they protesting Donald Trump? Okay, it doesn't make any sense. He is the one who's making government more efficient. He's the one who's being very transparent. And I mean, I don't know why these people want to end don't want to end the fraudulent use of taxpayer funds. That's what he's doing. He's saying, hey, we're going to end the fraudulent use of taxpayer funds, and we're going to keep more money in your pocket. Okay. I don't understand. If you're a grassroots movement that, is dedicated to government accountability, this is the most accountable government I think that we've had in a very long time when it comes to efficiency, Elon Musk, Doge. So the leftists can't answer why. Okay, why would they not want to end the fraudulent use of taxpayer funds? They can't answer why, and they're only doing these social media trends to get attention. And they're factually misinformed. Okay, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. You're factually misinformed, and they, whatever. I mean, if you think that this plan is going to work today, I think it's meaningless. But hey, at least you tried, right? And maybe out of this, you're going to realize, oh, wow, if I save money, I'll have money, and I don't need the money that the government gives me to fund my lifestyle anymore. Saving money is possible. Okay, so we're teaching, maybe this will teach them a little bit of financial accountability and individuality, and they don't need the tax money to subsidize their lifestyle. You can just save your money. I'm not against people saving their money. Yeah, you have to participate in the economy, but I mean... do people spend money every single day? Am I the only one who maybe spends money a few days a week, couple days a week? I mean, you go to the grocery store, you buy things, and then you go to the gas station and you fill up your tank for the week. I mean, max 2 days is what you're spending money. But yeah, they don't understand, and they think that this is so profound because they're obsessed with spending money. Okay, that's why they want to steal your money, because they're obsessed with spending money and they have no sense of financial accountability. And that's why they think this is going to be so profound. It's not going to be that profound. Okay, let's get to the New York governor blaming Donald Trump for the egg prices. We've talked about this before. It's not Donald Trump's fault, clearly. He's only been there for a couple of months, folks. And if you look at the numbers under the Biden administration, it skyrocketed, 65% increase, I think it is. It's common sense that fewer poultry farms and hens in the world will lead to more expensive eggs. Okay, in other words, supply demand. Okay, New York Governor Kathy Hochul closed her fair share of farms recently. And she's really the reason to blame here for the New York City egg prices, okay, because she closed all of these chicken farms that weren't infected with the bird flu, by the way. Okay, Barack Obama did the same thing. Joe Biden did it. Kathy Hochul does it. They do these government regulations, but yet she's attempting to project her wrongdoings and Joe Biden's wrongdoings and Barack Obama's wrongdoings on Donald Trump and on other people. Okay, so she's the reason why the egg prices are actually up. Take a listen to this.
Remember how on day one of the Trump administration, prices are going to go down? You know what the cost of eggs in New York City are, if you can even find them?
You can't find them.
It went up 40% since Donald Trump was elected. So instead of going down, they're going up even higher. So people are starting to wake up. They're saying, wait a minute, this is not what I thought I was voting for.
Yeah.
And it's happening even sooner than I thought. I mean, literally in the first few months here. I thought this would take a little longer, but my God, remember how on
she said the number there, 40% since Donald Trump has taken office. Okay, egg prices under Donald Trump in 2017, I think they were like $1.50 maybe. They skyrocketed by 65% under the under the Biden administration. Okay, so I want to talk about this. According to NBC, New York Governor Kathy Hochul ordered a temporary closure of live poultry markets after bird flu was detected. Okay, now I'm not totally against that. If there's bird flu detected, maybe close them down. But here's the reason why bird flu is probably infecting these poultry farms, okay, in these live poultry markets. They're not focused on protecting their flocks and protecting their poultry, okay? They're so focused on, hey, do my chickens have enough range? Or because the government, you take a look at what's going on in California with the pigs. They are regulating these markets, and the pigs have to have like 20 feet of range space or something crazy like that. I don't know, 20 feet or 50 feet. They regulate these farms in such a way where things start to fall, like they've got too many plates spinning and things start to fall through the cracks. And this is why bird flu winds up happening, is because you've got these farmers who are so focused on meeting EPA regulations that they can't focus on, taking care of their flocks. Okay, so, but they also called, Kathy Hochul, not just the live poultry markets that tested positive for bird flu to close down. They also closed down markets that did not test positive for bird flu. And they said, sell down all of your inventory, close down for 5 days and clean, okay, and do a cleaning process. And they did this in New York City. They did this in Westchester, Suffolk, and Nassau counties. Okay, so they did this everywhere in New York, where they closed down healthy markets, healthy live poultry markets that did not, I can't stress this enough, test for bird flu. They didn't test for bird flu and they shut them down anyway. So she says, my top priority will always be to keep New Yorkers safe. This is what she said at the time of closing down these healthy markets. I have directed our state agencies to use all available resources to ensure that we are taking every measure necessary to keep the risk to the public low. Okay, so, well, it just so happens that your priority, ma'am, may or may not have increased the prices of eggs, okay? You close down this, and it's such a disingenuous claim here to say that Trump had everything to do with this. And I love how the left, they're like, hold it, don't talk about the egg prices, don't talk about the egg price. Now let's talk about the egg prices. They increased 65% under Biden's administration. That's nowhere near the 40% under the Trump administration from 2024 to 2025. But really, we're only 2 months in 2025. This is still the aftermath of Kathy Hochul, the Biden administration, closing down healthy poultry markets, okay? Live poultry markets. Additionally, egg prices, they increased by 65% under the Biden administration after they sentenced 100 million hens to death. Okay, so they sentenced these hens to death. They ordered all of these live poultry markets to kill their birds when the virus was detected and when it was not detected. They ordered these non-positive farms, poultry farms, to close down and clean. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, but I'm going to be back with this story because I think it's so important. It's also a case in our food industry. So our food manufacturers, ADM, Archer Daniels Midland, that is a food processing company in Decatur. Okay. Now, recently, semi-recently, a couple of years ago, probably at this point, or a year or so ago, they had an explosion. Okay. Now, what the Biden administration, what the left does, they incentivize a lot of these farms and food processing plants to process food that is dangerous. Okay. So the seed oils, the fake meat, the Beyond Burgers, and all that crap. They want them to produce that because it's good for the environment, green weenie food, the vegan food or whatever. Okay. They incentivize it through tax credits. They'll give you a big old hefty tax credit if you make a ton of like meatless patties, okay, or fake meat patties, Beyond Burger patties, okay. They'll incentivize you to do that. And the process, that food processing that takes place, is extremely dangerous. You have to use a bunch of chemicals to rip seed oils off of seeds, vegetable oil. You have to use a hexane chemical, okay? And that's why all the food processing plants have been exploding or catching on fire, by the way, which doesn't do great things for our food prices, okay? So this all happened under the Biden administration. This is not going to happen under the Trump administration. He's going to shut all of those tax incentives, those tax credits down to produce food that nobody really wants. Okay. If you go into the grocery store and you walk down the aisle of where all the meatless products are, it is stocked. I've never seen anybody in that aisle, and I've never seen this aisle picked over. Ever. You know what is picked over? The eggs, and meat products, the meat section. Like, no, nobody ever buys that stuff. And you're inauthentically providing incentive for those food processing companies to make that food. So I am going to go ahead and take a quick break, but we're going to be right back talking more about the egg prices here next on Conservative Cat. Yeah, so I mean, there's so many regulations that these farmers have to keep up with, and you're going to have plates falling. Okay, that's where we're at with the Biden administration. There's just so many different regulations, and then they're also trying to, with the food processing plants at least, they're trying to get as much money as they possibly can through these inauthentic tax credits that they'll receive if they make this crappy food. Okay, so they're focused on that, and so many things fall through the cracks. Okay, ADM, the explosion, hexane, they weren't taking the proper safety measures because they were so focused on getting those tax incentives or those tax credits from the Biden administration for producing food that nobody really wants. Okay, so you wind up with explosions, you wind up with bird flu when you are bombarding these farmers with regulations, and your chickens have to have 50 feet of range or whatever, although they're going to die, right? And I am all about free range chickens. My opinion, I actually looked this up for you. $20 for feed. You can just go get your own chicken feed, go get your own chickens and put them in your backyard. Okay, and then we kind of fix this problem totally. But the regulation is what causes things like bird flu to break out, or what causes the food processing plants to explode. Okay, that kind of stuff happens only under liberal administrations, leftist Democrat administrations. I'm going to be right back. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. What's new, Cat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, good morning. I appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Yes, this is so pathetic. They try to. This is the same. These are the same people who tried to gaslight you into thinking that inflation only exists. It only exists under a Republican administration now, and it didn't exist under the Biden administration. That is total garbage. We know that. Take a listen. This is Caroline Levitt at the podium talking about how the egg prices actually began to increase under President Donald Trump or under President Joe Biden, 65%.
Really glad you brought this up because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration in the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage. So I will leave you with this point. This is an example of why it's so incredibly important that the Senate moves swiftly to confirm all of President Trump's nominees, including his nominee for the United States Department of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who is already speaking with Kevin Hassett, who's leading the economic team here at the White House, on how we can address the egg shortage in this country. As for costs, I laid out the plethora of ways that President Trump has addressed saving costs for the American people over the past week. He looks forward to continuing doing that in the days of.
Okay, so Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, claims that the policies forcing the farmers to kill off of their supply actually goes back to the Obama days. And anytime the Democrats get into power, they do this thing where they also incentivize food processing plants to produce food that nobody really wants, and they divert all of their attention from what they should be doing, which is processing food that people want, supply demand, but they're inauthentically providing tax dollars to people who who process the garbage food, like the Beyond Meat burgers, or the soy products and things like that, soybean oil, all of that. Okay, so the agriculture secretary blamed the current high prices. Trump's agriculture secretary, I don't know if he's been confirmed yet. I think he might have. He blamed the current high prices on a long road of overregulation going back to President Barack Obama. The Trump official also highlighted efforts, this is according to Fox News, to repopulate poultry farmers who were forced to slaughter most of their populations due to the exposure of the virus, a policy Rollins says that the administration is investigating. So, I get it if they have bird flu. I don't know if that was a good policy to eliminate their total population, if there was some sort of treatment maybe. But at the end of the day, the bird flu probably happened on the farms because of the government regulation. There's a lot of plates spinning on these types of farms, on these live poultry farms. And plates are bound to fall where their live poultry markets get infected because they're spinning all of these plates because of the government regulation. So when asked by Fox News host if it was time to revisit the policy of killing chickens, Rollins confirmed that the Trump administration is researching whether changing that policy would be effective. Okay, so it might not even be an effective policy to kill these chickens. Okay, is there a way to save these chickens from the bird flu? Is there a way to treat them? So it's pathetic that Kathy Hochul, the New York City governor, is blaming Donald Trump for this mess when grocery prices, including eggs, so many grocery prices are going up. Why? Because there is a low supply of all the food that we want, okay? Because they're so focused on producing food that nobody wants because it's more cost, like they get more money for producing food that nobody wants. Okay, that's what's going on because it's green weenie. It was part of the Green New Deal where they are like, okay, we want you to produce food or process food that doesn't require animal products because it's bad for the environment. Okay. Environmental foods, green foods. Okay. And these companies are like, okay, well, if we get all of these tax credits and if we get money and it's incentivized for us to create this stuff that nobody really wants, if you go into the grocery store, you're going to walk down that aisle. That stuff is in abundance. It's cheap. And they're trying to force people into buying that stuff. Okay. The soybean oils, the vegetable oils, you're going to see that stuff and it's way cheaper than the stuff that they should be processing. Okay. That is healthy for you and that people want. Okay. It's incentivized for them to produce crap that nobody actually wants. Yeah, the Trump administration, they're researching whether killing chickens was an effective policy at all. Pathetic that Kathy Hochul is blaming Trump for this mess. The grocery prices, including the eggs, increased under Joe Biden like 20 times more. Okay. And then in this, like I said, when Donald Trump was president in 2017, the egg prices were at historic lows. They were $1. Okay. So the only side to blame here when it comes to the increased egg prices is definitely not the side that currently is residing in the White House. It is definitely Barack Obama played a major role in this kind of stuff. Joe Biden played a role. So I'll actually pull those numbers. I wonder what the egg prices were under Barack Obama, because I bet they were higher than $1. I think it was $1.40 or something under President Donald Trump in 2017. I bet they were way higher under the Barack Obama administration. I'll look that up. But we're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. I got a fun news story for you here next. It's about a robber who got clocked in the head by a 2-liter soda. So he was trying to rob things from this grocery store, and an employee chucked a 2-liter soda at his head, which I thought was pretty funny. And I like to bring these up on Friday. I think they're hilarious. It's a video circulating on social media, security cam footage. So I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Okay. Are you guys ready? So, under Barack Obama, the average egg prices were $1.84. Okay. Now let's go 3 years into his administration. Okay, they were $1.77. Okay, under the Barack Obama administration. Okay, that was in 2011. Now in 2018, we'll go 3 years into Donald Trump's administration. About 2 years. So 2018 egg prices. 2018. This is hilarious. Let's see. $1? Less than $1. In 11 states, it was less than $1. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing $1.47. Okay. So the average egg prices under President Donald Trump in 2018, $1.47. So you look at Barack Obama. I'll just throw this up for you. Barack, in his term, the egg prices were about $1.77 a dozen. And then under Donald Trump, we've got $1.47. Okay. So that was under Barack and Trump. Okay, Barack $1.77 during his term, Donald Trump $1.47. So it actually went down under President Donald Trump. Why? Because the Barack Obama administration, they did these things where they cut down. They killed all of these birds. Okay, that was the policy of Barack Obama as well with the bird flu. So Donald Trump, it actually went down under his administration after Barack Obama. So this is really indicative, okay? And then under Joe Biden, I don't think I have to tell you. Let's do 2023. That's a good indication. Egg prices. 42. Oh my God. Biden. Okay. So I wanted to, just so that way you guys can see this visually. Okay. $1.82 in 2023 under the Biden administration. Donald Trump, under his administration, the height of his administration, okay, $1.47. The height of Barack Obama's administration, $1.77. Okay. So that's what we're talking about here. This is a good indication to show you the differences between the administrations. When Democrats are in, the prices go higher. When a Republican, conservative Republican, a fiscal conservative Republican who doesn't create policies, I'd imagine that we could even go back to Bush. So let's see, 2008, 2000, I don't know, let's do 2006. I wouldn't be surprised if under President Bush, he also had insane regulation. It's still, so like a Republican, I mean, they still put policies in place. So the average price for eggs under the Bush administration was $1.45. Okay, similar to, Donald Trump, $1.47, a couple cents different. Okay. Now you're naturally going to have, so there was a spike in egg costs under the Barack Obama administration. Naturally, you're going to have, so the $1.47 inflation. Okay. Naturally, it's going to go up a couple of cents every single year. Okay. Because of inflation, naturally. Now that was unnatural. The 30 cents more, near 40 cents more for, between, Barack Obama and or Bush and Barack Obama. So this will definitely put things into perspective for you. Okay. This is insane. That the left wants you to blame Donald Trump for these egg prices, it's just completely wild to me. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. I want to ramble off these numbers for you because it puts into perspective what we've been talking about these egg prices. Okay, so under Barack Obama let's go back to President Bush, George Bush. Okay, under his administration, we were looking at $1.25 for a dozen of eggs. Okay, $1.25. Then we go to Barack Obama. It skyrockets by over 30 cents, about 30 cents. Barack Obama's administration, $1.77 for a dozen of eggs. Okay. So we're looking at $1.77. And then under the Trump administration, his first presidency, it goes back down to $1.47. So it's a little bit more than the Bush administration inflation. There is a spike in cost when it comes to the Barack Obama administration. And as the Secretary of Agriculture, Donald Trump's current Secretary of Agriculture, kind of laid out for us, he said that Barack Obama was actually the one who started killing chickens. They implemented these policies of killing chickens when they came down with the bird flu, and the Trump administration is currently investigating as to whether or not that is an effective policy to kill hundreds of millions of chickens. So Rollins, the secretary, Brooke Rollins, agriculture secretary, he's blamed the current high prices, and he said that it's on a long road of overregulation going back to President Barack Obama's administration. Okay. So when Republican, and not even Republican, just somebody who's fiscally conservative and doesn't implement crazy policies, okay, like tax incentives for food processing plants to create food nobody really wants. When those policies aren't in place, the egg prices go down. When those policies are in place, they go up. You just go look at Barack Obama. That's by 30 cents. That is not your traditional inflation, okay? Going from a $1.45 to a $1.77, there is a discrepancy here where it's not just inflation, it's the policies that are in place that are increasing the cost, okay? And then it went back down when Barack left. Under the Donald Trump administration, the first one, it went back down to the original $1.45, $1.47, adjusted for, it probably went up slightly by the 2 cents for inflation. But listen to this. Under the Joe Biden administration in 2023, the average egg prices from $1.47 under the Trump administration, okay, the height of his administration, the egg prices were $1.47. They skyrocketed under Joe Biden to $4.82 was the average cost of a dozen of eggs in the height of his administration, in the Joe Biden administration. So it went from $1.47 under Donald Trump to $4.82 under Joe Biden. Okay, and it's just been increasing since then because of the policies Joe Biden implemented where he killed a bunch of chickens, okay? And they're investigating as to whether that's an effective policy. So yeah, there's no one else. There's only one side to blame when it comes to the increased egg prices, and it is not Donald Trump. Okay, he actually brought down egg prices from the Barack Obama administration, $1.77 to $1.47, 30 cents. Okay, so let's check this out. I do want to talk about this story. It's hilarious. It's actually a viral video. This robber, okay, I like to pull these sometimes from the internet. It's going crazy on the internet right now. And this guy, he was caught robbing the store. He's a shoplifter, okay, and he was caught stealing, and he actually got knocked out by a Coke can, okay? So he got knocked out by this, or the Coke can. It's like a 2-liter thing of pop, okay? So you guys can watch this on the stream. I'll play it for you. There's no sound. It's just security cam. It's very interesting to watch. There's very little things in life that we can just enjoy. I like my coffee in the morning. I like that spring seems to be on its way, right? The weather's a little bit warmer. Kids are walking to school. The families, they're walking the dog. There's a lot of things to enjoy in life. And this is one of those things I enjoy, watching security cam footage of a shoplifter getting clocked in the head with a bottle of Coke, okay, with a 2-liter bottle of Coke. I'm assuming it's Coke because, ew, Pepsi. I'm not a Pepsi person. But I want to point this out because this is hilarious. And I don't know the context here. Maybe he was stealing a backpack full of chips. Maybe he was stealing a loaf of bread to feed his family, I guess. I don't know. Whatever the context is, the security was not letting this criminal exit without paying, okay? He was trying to leave without paying this criminal. And another employee, so there's this like security type guy, he's at the grocery store and he's not letting him leave without paying, okay? And then there's a separate employee, he's stocking an end cap with all of the soda pops, okay? This is when the employee, the colleague here of the guy who is trying to prohibit him from exiting the store, this is when the colleague grabs the Coke bottle, the 2-liter bottle of Coke, overhead chucks it at this robber's head, and he goes down, boom! Direct hit, and he goes down faster than a sorority girl who hears that they have Taylor Swift tickets. Okay, so yeah, this is hilarious. He goes down so fast; it's hilarious to watch. And I just want to talk to the kids right now. Turn this up. It's a lesson for the kids. Hey, it's embarrassing when security catches you if you steal things, okay? But it's even more embarrassing when the security camera picks it up because conservative Kat, she's going to get her hands on the security cam footage and she's going to make fun of you. You've turned into a laughingstock for all of the internet, and you're the laughingstock of all of your shoplifting friends, okay? Gentleman who gets clocked in the head with a 2-liter bottle of soda. This is hilarious. So kids, what have we learned? We don't steal things because it's really embarrassing when you get caught, but it's even more embarrassing when you get caught on security cam footage and radio hosts make fun of you. Okay, so don't steal things. All right, we're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. I do want to get to one more story. Jake Tapper Remember, he called you a conspiracy theorist. Everybody called you a conspiracy theorist for questioning Joe Biden's mental health. You said it was cognitive decline. You said that he looks like he's got dementia. He definitely knew. You knew. We know that he knew. But he was complacent in one of the biggest cover-ups, I think, in American history. Okay, he was complacent. He covered it up. And rather than taking responsibility for lying to the American people, he's decided to blame everybody else, and he's going to profit off of the deception he helped create. Okay, so he's made a book now. What is the title of this book? It's called Original Sin. Okay, so Tapper's releasing this book to cast blame on those who covered up the fact that Joe Biden was a sleeping potato. And he was part of the cover up. That's what I don't understand. This whole book that he's like releasing, it's The Original Sin, President Joe Biden's Decline. It's a cover up, and his disastrous choice to run again is coming out on May 20th. This is why CNN has no ratings. You guys were the ones who were complacent in this cover-up. So now you're saying that it was everybody else who was covering it up. It's just such bogus. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. It's just total trash. Like, you're going to sit there and you're going to say that you weren't the one who, like, you were the one who were, like, covered this up. You were the one. So now you're going to sit there and point fingers and tell people that you weren't the one. And I'm going to play this clip. This was from years. I think this was from years ago. No. This is recent. This is him talking about his book covering up the Joe Biden decline. Okay, so this is a clip from Jake Tapper talking about his book, The Original Sin, covering up Joe Biden's decline, the biggest cover-up, or whatever it's called. He's the one who did this, so I really don't understand what he's talking about here. He was a reporter that covered this up. The only reason he was able to run in 2020, Joe Biden is, and he has been in cognitive decline for a long time. Now, I've traced this back. If you actually look at Joe Biden's face, okay, Joe Biden looks like he might have had a stroke. Okay, that's what I think actually happened to Joe Biden. There's his ear. People say like, oh, this isn't the real Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't have. So you know how like it's a hereditary thing if your ears are separated or if they're connected, like if they go right into your like cheek. His ear has like totally drooped. Okay, and it doesn't look like other pictures of him. Okay, his face actually has physical changes to it. This is why I'm led to believe, and not to mention he's had brain aneurysms. And, you know, once you've had those, you are more susceptible to a stroke. And I'm not like being conspiratorial here. I mean, everything just lines up to suggest that he might have had a stroke prior to his 2020 race. Okay. Oh gosh, when was it? I think it was like, I don't know, there's a timeline here where there was a noticeable physical difference in his face. And it was right before he ran for 2020. Okay. So he ran for 2020, and the CNNers, the Jake Tappers, the reporters who participated in this cover-up, they've been participating in this in a long time. He should have never gotten to 2020, okay? The reporters, if they had done their job, he would have never ran in 2020. They would have been like, okay, there's something seriously wrong with Joe Biden. He's got a face issue. It looks like he might have had a stroke, right? If the reporters were digging in to figure out what exactly happened to Joe Biden between this time period right before he ran for 2020, which is also why I think he ran from his basement. He wasn't out on the campaign trail. They didn't put him out there. Why? Because he was still recovering from what I believe to have been a stroke. So there's a reason why they didn't campaign him, is because he was sick. He was not doing well. But they participated in this cover up and they got him to the finish line. Like he would never gotten that far in 2020 had it not been for the reporters carrying water for him and saying that it's a conspiracy theory to say that he's not well. Okay, he would have never gotten into the presidency in 2020, or never gotten he wouldn't have even been able to run in 2020. But people like Jake Tapper, they concealed his health from the public. They concealed and they carried water for this guy. And like I said, I don't think he would have gotten it far. People aren't buying this crap. CNN, you're the reason why there was this huge cover up. And Jake Tapper is trying to say that he didn't know, and then he was just as duped as you and I. Everybody said that he was fine, and he's just as duped as you and I. No. Everybody who has eyeballs could see that this guy that Joe Biden was not well. Okay, and to try to suggest that you weren't aware of that and you were deceived as well, total lie, total bogus. All right, we're going to be back in just a second. Yes, I am live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel and follow me on Rumble. Appreciate you listening on Rumble. Live every morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Jake Tapper and the abysmal CNN ratings and how they're always going to stay abysmal because this clueless buffoon is still presenting himself as if, he was just as confused as you, or just he didn't know anything about Joe Biden's decline because, other people concealed it. No, he was the one who was concealing Joe Biden's mental health decline and his cognitive decline. Hey, good morning. It's Friday. I so do appreciate you doing it each and every single morning. We've had a lot of fun this morning, and we're going to continue to have fun with this story. CNN, Jake Tapper, he called you a conspiracy theorist for questioning Joe Biden's mental health decline. Now, I've actually looked into multiple videos, multiple pictures. Joe Biden, I believe, has suffered a severe stroke. Right before he ran in 2020, he suffered a severe stroke, okay? So yeah, that's what I believe. Physically, and people talk about his ear. So his ear is drooped, okay? And he's had brain aneurysms in the past. Brain aneurysms make you more susceptible to stroke. I truly do believe Joe Biden had a stroke right before he ran for office. Okay, so Jake Tapper, he knew that there was something wrong with Joe Biden prior to him running in 2020. Everybody knew something was wrong, but guess what the media did? They were complacent and they lied. They did this cover up, and it's one of the biggest, I think, cover ups in American history. Instead of taking responsibility for lying to the American people and covering up for Joe Biden and his mental health, he decided to blame everybody else, and he's hoping to profit from the deception that he helped create. Okay, so Tapper is releasing a book. Jake Tapper is releasing a book called The Original Sin, to cast blame on those who covered up the fact that Joe Biden was a sleeping potato, okay, and that he wasn't capable of running the country. Okay, so he's releasing a book called The Original Sin, and I think there's more to the title. Hold on, let me look here. It's The Original Sin, President Joe Biden's Decline. It's cover up in his disastrous choice to run for office again. It's coming out May 20th. Take a listen to this. He's acting like he was completely clueless in this. Like he had no idea. And yeah.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are
to watch somebody on stage
that's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay,
that is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so there he is. I mean, he tried to slander Laura Trump. and say that she was mocking Joe Biden's stutter. No, no, no. She was pointing out what everybody saw with their eyes. What he did, he participated in this cover up, and he tried to do this lack of authority appeal. Like she tried to say, "Oh, you're not, you don't have this authority to diagnose Joe Biden from afar." Like what? So this, he expects you to forget all of that. Okay, he expects you to forget that this conversation happened and that he participated in this cover up and that he was so shocked after Joe Biden's pathetic debate performance, and that no, there was cognitive decline before. Now, this conversation happened while Trump was running with Pence. Okay, before 2020, this conversation happened. Everybody saw prior to 2020 that Joe Biden wasn't well. They covered up, according to CNN, a day after President Donald Trump won the 2024 election. CNN, Jake Tapper, and Axios correspondent Alex Thompson decided to co-author a book about what led to the Democratic Party defeat, with the focus of former President Joe Biden. So they said that deeply sourced reporters found what they called a cover-up of the former president's serious decline. The only reason he was able to run in 2020 was because of people like Jake Tapper. Okay, had he agreed with Laura here in this conversation, Laura Trump, about how he has this stutter, and it seems like he's not capable of leading the country, it seems like he has cognitive decline. Had he agreed with her, I mean, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Okay, they wouldn't have lost in 2024. Maybe they would have gotten a candidate outside of Joe Biden that was capable of winning. Okay. So Joe Biden would have never gotten as far as he did without networks like CNN and without Jake Tapper. And this was a clear example of that. So the American people aren't buying this crap. This is why they've become largely irrelevant. Jake Tapper wants you to think that he didn't participate in this cover up, and he's writing a book about how other people participate, not him, other people participated in this cover up. You've got abysmal ratings, CNN. This is ridiculous. Like you're blaming everybody else, but guess what? When you point a finger, three more are pointing back right at you, Jake Tapper. All right, we got to go. You guys have a blessed rest of your day. Happy weekend. I love you, and be sure to tune in again tomorrow or Monday morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's a daily show. You've been listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9.